Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Big Blue Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Volz, a sophomore here at SUNY Fredonia. Well, it's been a little while since I was on the air last. Well, not really. I was on twice on Monday, but Big Blue Sports Podcast was off last week, and the reason for that was because I was down in Atlanta, Georgia for the annual Associated Collegiate Press Conference. I was down there for about 5 days. It was a lot of fun. It was really enjoyable, had a lot of really good sports themed conference sessions that I went to. And unfortunately, I brought back some sort of sickness or something because I don't sound the best. I promise, I sounded worse yesterday. It was bad yesterday. I was like sitting in the radio station, I ended up having to rest my voice a little bit. I was using the speech to text, like the Google Translate thing, to say whatever I wanted to say because my voice was just shot yesterday. It's a little better today, but still not great. But I decided, you know what? I'm going to be on the air multiple times today, so we're just going to press through and just keep going regardless of what happens. So hopefully by the end of the day today, I still have a voice, but yeah, that remains to be seen. I actually saw a lot of cool things, and I'll take the first few minutes to talk about Atlanta, because why not? I actually saw some really cool things when I was down there. We ended up going to the College Football Hall of Fame, which was really cool. That was awesome. I got to pose next to the College Football National Championship trophy. That was sick. I wore my... Even though against my mother's advice, when my mom said, please leave your Auburn Tigers gear at school, please do not wear Auburn gear in downtown Atlanta, I did not really listen to that. I wore my Auburn, I have an Auburn jacket thing. I wore that to the College Football Hall of Fame, and it was really cool. There was a lot of really cool stuff to see, got to stand next to the national championship trophy. I stood next to the Heisman Trophy, did the Heisman pose. I saw one of the BCS trophies. I think it was the 2012 one or something like that. I don't know. But there was the Orange Bowl trophy, in which I actually explained to the rest of the because I was there with about 5 or 6 of the other section editors for The Leader, and which, by the way, a new issue of The Leader printed yesterday. It's marvelous. I highly recommend you check it out. But we were down there, and I had to explain to them that, yes, if you win the Orange Bowl, you actually get a bowl full of oranges. That is a real thing. College football is weird. There's a lot of weird traditions. Like the games, you have the Orange Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, the Cotton Bowl. Of course, now you have all the stupid ones that are I shouldn't say stupid ones, but now you have all the ones that are just corporate sponsor bowls that nobody really cares about. I'm not exactly jumping for the remote so that I can watch the second half of the Tax Slayer Bowl. I just I don't know. Between that, there's some ridiculous ones. I think there's the Zaxby's Bowl. I lose track of some of them. I remember when it was, and now all of the traditional bowl games are sponsored too. The Fiesta Bowl is now it used to be the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl, which made sense, but I don't know if Tostitos sponsors it anymore. I know the Cotton Bowl is the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, and is not played in the actual Cotton Bowl anymore, which I think is ridiculous. It's played in Jerry World now, otherwise known as AT&T Stadium, home of the Dallas Cowboys. There's some other ones the Orange Bowl. Is it still the FedEx Orange Bowl? I'm going to Google that. I can't remember. And that's obviously not played in the Orange Bowl because the actual Orange Bowl does not exist anymore. Oh, it's the Capital One Orange Bowl. That's what it is. Yeah, it's the Capital One Orange Bowl. Is the Fiesta Bowl still Tostitos? I really hope it is. It should be. No, it's not. It's the Verbo Fiesta Bowl. Yeah. I don't understand. It's like when the BCS championship was the BCS College Football National Championship game presented by Vizio, because that's an easy name to say. But Anyways, my beef with corporate sponsor things is just that doesn't need to carry over to Big Blue, because I miss when the stadiums, when like sports stadiums were not totally driven by like corporate names. When it used to be like when the Bills had Ralph Wilson Stadium, or like the Bengals used to be Paul Brown Stadium, and now it's Highmark Stadium. I'm sorry, I think Highmark Stadium is stupid. I'm sorry, I just think it is. There's some other ones like, the Bengals, Paycor Stadium. Yeah, that rolls off the tongue. The Steelers, I'll never forgive them for changing it from Heinz Field was great. There was nothing wrong with Heinz Field. It was awesome. Now it's Acrisure Stadium. Again, totally rolls off the tongue. Nice job, Pittsburgh. I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm not. I don't know. Anyways, Fredonia sports. Basketball starts tonight. The Blue Devils are back. They are at home tonight at 7 o'clock taking on Allegheny College. Allegheny is based out of Pennsylvania. It's not like, if you're familiar with the Allegheny State Park or Allegheny County or Allegheny, New York, my hometown. It's not that. It's the one that people from like Allegheny, New York always say, like the spelling with the GH in it, like the Pennsylvania spelling. We always kind of say that like that one's wrong. And the people from PA say that like our spelling is wrong. But so they're playing against Allegheny. That game is here at the Dodds Hall Gym tonight at 7 o'clock. They're also home this weekend. Friday, they have a 3 p.m. game against Grove City. That's kind of an odd game time. Or not even Saturday. Yeah, it's Friday. Friday at 3 p.m. That's a little bit of an odd game time, considering the fact that, a lot of people might still have classes at that time and things of that nature. But yeah, 2 home games. The men's basketball team is looking to beat somebody other than Buff State for the first time in 2 years. Last year was flat out rough. There's no sugarcoating that last year was a really bad year for the men's basketball team. And I don't think that's being overly critical to say that either. They went 2-23. They beat Buff State twice. That's not overly critical to say that either. So hopefully things will improve for them. I think that, I don't know. I think that things kind of have to improve, because I really don't know how you accept a 2-23 record. I'm sorry, that's really bad. Come on, 2-23, beat Buff State twice. I don't know about that. But anyways, the women's basketball team, they've got a little bit more time. They start their season on Saturday. That is also here. Saturday at 1 p.m. against Hilbert. The women's team was a little bit better last year. They went 5-19. They've got some new faces this year, and they've also got 3 seniors. I think it's a good mix of, and you'll hear me, preview this game a little bit on News at Noon today. I think it's a good mix of youth and experience that they have. They've got 3 freshmen and 3 seniors. So I think that, the women's basketball team is primed to have a better season. I think both basketball teams are going to be better this year than they were last year. That's my hope. That's my belief. I think, I'd like to believe that. The men's and women's swimming and diving teams are headed to Alfred this weekend. They were off last weekend. They are headed to Alfred this weekend for actually a tri-meet is what I think it's the Alfred University tri-meet is the official name of it. The Alfred University tri-meet. They're taking on Alfred and University of Rochester, U of R. The men's swimming and diving team is 0-3. It's kind of hard to win when you only have 4 people. And I mentioned that on the show before, that's going to be a really, really hard thing for that team to do, because you can't stretch your swimmers into too many different events. And for example, if you've got somebody who's just a diver, you're not going to go throw them in the 500-meter relay or something like that. So it's going to be really, really tricky for Coach Bill Bradley's team this year with only 4 members of that team. And then the women's swimming and diving team is 1-2. And finally, men's hockey. They had the scrimmage against the EHL All-Stars a couple weeks ago. But they've got their first regular season home game on Friday night at 7 p.m. taking on Buff State. Parker Gurnett and I will be on the call for that. Then those two teams will meet in Buffalo on Saturday night as well. But Friday night is going to be here at 7 p.m. And make sure you catch them on Friday night, because after that, they're not going to be home again until the second week in December. It's a really bizarre schedule. I mean, they only have 4 home games this semester. They only have 3 left because the EHL All-Star scrimmage was the first one. So it's a bizarre schedule this year. And I talked to Coach Meredith about that, and he said that he mentioned that too. He talked about how it's a really odd schedule compared to how it usually is. So it's definitely, I don't know what to make of it. You're going to have to go on the road and win some games rather frequently if you don't want to fall behind too early. And that's kind of what happened to them last year. They won a couple of big games at home late and ended up sneaking into the conference playoffs as a result. But, they still went 7-17. So they're definitely looking for improvement. There's a good goaltender battle going on. Logan Dick does not have the starting goalie job locked down. Charles Anthony Barbeau is also excellent. So it's going to be interesting to see how Coach Meredith uses his 2 goaltenders moving forward. And Fredonia students will get their first look at that on Friday night. So that's all for your Fredonia sports. I'm going to take a quick break. And then when I come back, I'll probably talk about the Sabres a little bit. Of course, baseball is over. The Texas Rangers winning the World Series. That's what I would normally talk about. So I'll probably talk about, just like some NHL and some college football. Maybe we'll get into college football. Although we got into plenty of that on the 5th quarter on Monday. And then later on in the show, I'll be talking about the Sabres. Their 3-2 overtime loss to Carolina last night. And then, of course, the Bills and their loss on Sunday night. And yeah. See, it's still like, it's difficult because when you have like no voice and you're supposed to be a radio show host, it's a little bit tricky. But anyways, thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for bearing with me here on Big Blue Sports Podcast. And we'll be back in a few minutes. Thanks for tuning in today.
Been writing songs about the places I've been, people I've seen, all the people I've been, up and down all them highway tours, country roads zigzagging back and forth. Well, Papa never told me I was ever gonna be a smile on display, bound to the paper, maybe I'm bound to the game. I spent time learning to pick in songs, singing alongs, and I've sang sad, sad songs. A ballad, a waltz, blues, and a honky tonk, just like a stomping tom. I keep rolling on. Papa never told me I was ever gonna be a smile on display, bound to the pain, maybe I'm bound to the game. And Mama never told me I was ever gonna be a smile on display, bound to the pain, maybe I'm bound to the game. I've been working like a dog, playing 2 club walls, playing for the melody. The echo wings of modesty are crushing down on me. I miss my family. Papa never told me I was ever gonna be a smile on display, bound to the pain, baby I'm bound to the game. Mama never told me I was ever gonna be a smile on display, bound to the pain, baby I'm bound to the game.
Hey Siri, what should I listen to?
You should listen to WCVF-FM 88.9 The Voice.
Does it have variety?
WCVF has variety. It is whatever those Fredonia college kids and community members decide to put on the air.
That sounds freaking amazing. Thanks, girl.
And we're back on Big Blue Sports Podcast. Yeah, I totally went into a little bit of a coughing fit there at the end there. But anyways, the Sabres played last night. And it was, the Sabres went into last night's game having not won in Carolina since 2016. This is a true story, a true stat. The Sabres' last win in Carolina was March 22nd of 2016. That's crazy. I saw this actually on, I'd seen this on Twitter, that the Sabres are on X. Sorry, I mentioned that on fifth quarter too. I was like, bro, come on, can we just call it Twitter? But, I had seen that the Sabres top line of Jeff Skinner, Tage Thompson, and Alex Tuch, where they were the last time the Sabres won a game in Carolina. Jeff Skinner was actually playing in that game for Carolina. Tage Thompson was at the University of Connecticut, and Alex Tuch was at Boston College. So two of their top forwards were not even in the NHL yet, the last time the Sabres won in Carolina. So it's been a while. And they did get a point last night. They ended up losing in overtime. Alex Tuch scored in the second period, and Rasmus Dahlin had a power play goal that tied the game midway through the third, but Marty Necas ended up scoring the overtime winner for Carolina. Canes win it 3-2. Sabres are still at 500. They're 6-1, or NHL 500. And right now, at 13 points, they're sitting tied for the last wild card spot. So, they're still in it. And it was an opportunity to get 2 points against a really good Eastern Conference team. Ultimately, the Sabres only come away with one, but you'll take what you can get, right? I mean, in their last, their last 10 games or something like that, they've come away with, it's their last 5 games. They've come away with 7 out of a possible 10 points. That's totally doable. I saw last night that, they do that the rest of the season. That's a 109-point pace. That certainly gets you into the playoffs. So, you'll take that. The Sabres they've played well. I mean, they had the game last Friday against the Flyers where they came out flat. But really, other than that, I think Buffalo has played well as of late after kind of a rough start to the season. And, a lot's been made about the Sabres, this was such a great offensive team last year. Why can't they score now? And I think that a lot of it, honestly, is because we got to remember, this is still a young team. This is the youngest team in the NHL. And we've got to remember that they are still learning how to play the NHL game. A lot of them are. Last year, offensively, the Sabres were excellent. They were one of the top scoring teams in the league. But there was a lot that lacked on the defensive end. The Sabres, the classic thing about the Sabres last year is they'd win a lot of games 5-4 or 6-5 or whatever. And realistically, you can't expect to win every game when you're giving up 4 or 5 goals. So I think a lot of, time and effort has gone into building up the Sabres defensively. And that's kind of come at a cost of some offense, which so far this season, the Sabres defensively have vastly improved from last year. Their defense looks so much better than it did last year. Their penalty kill, I know they gave up a power play goal last night. That was also kind of some tough luck. It bounced off, I think it bounced right off Jordan Greenway and rolled in behind Luukkonen. But their penalty kill this year looks excellent. I mean, it's been really good so far this season. The power play, on the other hand, and they had a power play goal last night, which was good, encouraging to see. But the power play has not been great. It's been largely unremarkable. I think their power play has gotten a little bit too predictable. It's, they just kind of pass it around for 30 seconds and then wait for the Tage Thompson one-timer. Like, teams know that's coming because that was the Sabres' number one power play weapon last year was that Tage Thompson one-timer. And why not, right? Because, I mean, that's a lethal shot. Tage Thompson has an incredible shot. So why wouldn't he use it, right? But I think the problem with it is that you can't allow that to be your only attack offensively on the power play. You've got to be able to kind of spread the wealth a little bit. Have a one-timer threat from the other side. What I like that they've been doing is they've had Casey Middlestat as the bumper on the power play, which means, he's kind of in the middle in front of the net. I think he's done well there, and I think that they should keep him there. Keep Tage positioned by the faceoff dot so you still have that one-timer as an option, but at the same time, don't overly rely on it, right? So it's kind of like Josh Allen running the football, which we'll get to later. But, I think that I think that the Sabres are learning, still, like I said, learning how to play the game at the NHL level. A lot of them still are. You can't forget, I know there's expectations for the team. I know people think, this year should be a playoff year, what have you. I know, but at the same time, we cannot forget that this is still the youngest roster in the league. And there's going to be some growing pains with that. It's a learning experience. You're still young. Everything is a learning experience. Like when I was hosting Big Blue for the first couple times a year ago, I can't even stomach going back to listen to those first few shows because they were rough. But I learned. I got better. It's the same case with the Sabres. They've got a lot of really young players that have some great potential. And I know a lot's been made about, Kevin Adams is a terrible GM because he didn't go out and, he didn't go out and get a franchise goalie to pair with Levi, or, he didn't do enough to improve the defense. Like, come, just stop. Like, you really I don't understand this. And I see this all the time with people who are saying, and I'll get to that with the Bills later. Believe me, I'm purposefully leaving plenty of time to talk about the Bills today. But, there's too many people that are like, we need to fire Kevin Adams and hire a serious GM who's going to go out and get a goalie for us or get some more big names on the defense. I'm like, come on. Like, they're like, what has Kevin Adams really done? Like, he's just made the most of what Jason Botterill gave him. I'm like, are we really about to give Jason Botterill credit for building the Buffalo Sabres as they are right now? Do you need to remember what the Sabres looked like when Jason Botterill was the general manager? Let's go outside and touch some grass for a second and realize that Kevin Adams has done a lot of really good things. And this isn't the bow down to Kevin Adams hour. He's made some mistakes, certainly. But at the same time, I think people are a little bit too critical. And Granato's the same way. People get mad especially after the Flyers loss on Friday night. They're like, we need to fire Don Granato and hire a real coach. I'm like, what are you talking about? Oh, okay, let's hire a real coach. Okay, let's bring Phil Housley back. Let's bring Ralph Kruger back. Oh, you don't want to bring those? Oh, because those guys were terrible. Oh, yeah, okay. Good to know. And like it's kind of ridiculous. So like, I don't know why people do that, but anyways, there were a handful of games last night. Besides just the Sabres losing to Carolina in overtime. The Tampa Bay Lightning going into Montreal and beating the Canadiens 5-3. They scored 4 goals in the first period. Montreal made it a game late. I mean, they scored 3 in the third, but ultimately not enough. The Minnesota Wild go on to Long Island and beat the Islanders 4-2. The Rangers beat the Detroit Red Wings 5-3, a 4-goal second period for the Rangers. 3-goal third for Detroit. They scored all 3 of their goals in the third. The Rangers are 9-2-1 so far this season. They look really good. The Jets going into St. Louis and beating the Blues 5-2. Kyle Connor with 2 goals and 1 assist. Mark Scheifele had a goal and 2 assists. The Flames beating the Nashville Predators 4-2 on the backs of a 3-goal third period, despite the fact that UC Saros was really good. The Arizona Coyotes beating the Seattle Kraken 4-3 in a shootout. The Coyotes are 6-5-1. What? Arizona is actually, they have a winning record? How about that? The Colorado Avalanche beating the New Jersey Devils 6-3. That was a battle between 2 really good teams. Cale Makar, 3 assists in that game. The Pittsburgh Penguins go into Anaheim and shut out the Ducks 2-0. I find it funny that John Gibson was the first star of the game, even though he lost. But, he made 34 saves. So the Ducks realistically did not play all that well. And then the San Jose Sharks. The Sharks are finally in the win column. Yes, the drought is over. The Sharks beat the Flyers 2-1. Mackenzie Blackwood made 38 saves on 39 shots. The Sharks, after an 0-10-1 start, after one of the worst starts to a season in NHL history, that is not an exaggeration. The Sharks have finally won a game. Congratulations to San Jose. There will be no 0-82 season in California, although it would have been 0-81-1. The Sharks have won a game. Jeez, I mean, that team, oh man, that like, and I shouldn't rag on them too much because they won last night, but oh man, that team is rough. I mean, really though, that team is, oh boy, they are, it reminds me of the Sabres like 18-game losing streak from 2 years ago. Almost 3 years ago. How crazy is that? That was 3 seasons ago. Like, yeah, it was that bad. The Sharks, I mean, they gave up 10 goals in back-to-back games. That is insane. That's truly insane. To give up back-to-back 10-goal games, that's wow. Anyways, 3 games tonight. Battle of Canada in Toronto between the Sens and Leafs at 7. The Panthers and Capitals in D.C. at 7:30. And then a game out west. The Vegas Golden Knights, who are 7-0-1 at home so far this year, 11-1-1 overall. They host the Los Angeles Kings, who are a perfect 6-0 on the road so far this year. They've been really good on the road. So that'll be a fun game tonight to see those two teams face off. And that game is actually a national TV game. I should say the Panthers-Capitals game is on TNT as well. And the Kings versus Golden Knights game is on TNT as well. So that's it for your hockey talk, and I'm going to take a short break, and Then we're going to talk about the Bills. I know that probably a lot of people don't really want to hear about the Bills right now, but yeah, we got to talk about it because, ooh boy, Sunday night did not go as well as a lot of Bills fans were hoping. So we'll be back. Thanks for tuning into Big Blue Sports Podcast here on WCVF 88.9, the campus and community voice of Fredonia.
Box of lemons and I told myself I'm losing again. Been a long time coming, I'm drowning and I'm feeling within. Look around here, you know you're not my friend. Long hard look and I told myself I'm losing again. And I showed her the way. And what more could I say? She was the one I'd chase around the sun. If I could just fall away. Oh. Cool water, the fruit trees low. The more that I reach out, the more I can't get you. But I remember you said I do. Everybody now, they all howling at the moon. And I told her it's true. And what more could I do? She was the one I'd chase around the sun. If I could just fall through. One loved one try to get away. Everybody now think they got the right way. But I remember what you said to me. Everybody now think they live it wanted me. And I told her so. And what more could I do? She was the one I'd chase around the sun. If I could just follow through. And she was the one I'd chase around the sun. If I could just follow through.
Tune in to News at Noon on Mondays and Wednesdays at noon with an additional news segment on High Noon Friday, every Friday at noon. News at Noon gives you your local, campus, and international updates, as well as sports and weather. Be sure to tune in.
And welcome back to Big Blue Sports Podcast. And you can hear me providing a sports update on Fredonia sports, the Sabres, and the Bills on News at Noon later today. Also wanted to let you know that the Fun and Logic Club has a game night every week. The board games and card games are supplied by the club, but you are also free to bring your own. The club meetings are every Thursday at 7 p.m. in the Williams Center in room 204 A, B, and C. I actually had a chance to go to Fun and Logic Club, their last Thursday game night. It was a lot of fun. They played a game, it was called Seven Wonders. I'll be honest, I had no idea what was going on. I was there for we were doing a television news story on their game night, and it was a lot of fun, and it seems like a really, really neat environment. So I definitely recommend anybody who wants to check it out. Feel free. They got a good group of people over there that, they go over there and they have lots of fun with it. So now on to the part of the show that I'm sure everyone was very much looking forward to. Let's talk about the Bills. Actually, no. Let's recap the scores from this past week, and then I'll talk about the Bills. So last Thursday night, the Pittsburgh Steelers beating the Tennessee Titans 20-16. Titans quarterback Will Levis suffering his first NFL loss. Deontay Johnson caught his first touchdown pass for the Steelers since 2021. His last touchdown catch was from Ben Roethlisberger. That's how long it's been. The Steelers improved to 5-3 with the win. Titans dropped to 3-5. Tennessee is 0-4 on the road this season. The game's on Sunday in Frankfurt, Germany. A much lower scoring game than most people probably predicted. The Kansas City Chiefs hang on to beat the Miami Dolphins 21-14. Mahomes threw 2 touchdowns, but not a lot, not a lot of yards. Both Tua Tagovailoa and Patrick Mahomes were held to under 200 yards passing. The Chiefs improved to 7-2 with the win. They are still tied with the Baltimore Ravens for the best record in the AFC, while the Dolphins dropped to 6-3, but still have the lead in the AFC East. The 1 o'clock games, the Minnesota Vikings, oh boy, come back to beat the Atlanta Falcons 31-28. The Falcons, so of course last week, Kirk Cousins tore his Achilles, done for the season. Josh Dobbs was an Arizona Cardinal last week. He was traded to the Vikings at the trade deadline. I mean, the whole story is just absolutely crazy. So Jaren Hall, the Vikings rookie quarterback, their rookie backup was slated to start the game. He did, but he ended up leaving with a concussion in the first quarter. So in comes Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs probably had not even learned the names of the offensive linemen or receivers yet. He was like translating the plays at the line of scrimmage, basically. And he rallies the Vikings to a 31-28 win. He was actually the leading rusher in this game. He ran 7 times for 66 yards and a touchdown. It's just that's quite the story. To see that happen, that's pretty impressive. The Vikings improved to 5-4 with the win. Minnesota has been road warriors this year. They are 4-1 on the road. The Falcons dropped to 4-5. Well, the Cardinals, their first game in their post Josh Dobbs era, did not go well, as the rest of the Cardinals season has not gone well. The Browns, in Deshaun Watson's return from a shoulder injury, shut out the Arizona Cardinals 27-0. The Browns improved to 5-3 with the win. They are 4-1 at home. And the Arizona Cardinals dropped to a league worst 1-8. They are 0-5 on the road. Kyler Murray could make his return next week. Well, the Green Bay Packers snapped a 4-game losing streak with a 20-3 win over the Matthew Stafford-less Rams. On Sunday, the Packers improved to 3-5 with the win. Rams dropped to 3-6. The Washington Commanders heading up to New England. Sam Howell throws for 325 yards. And on the Patriots' last drive, Mac Jones gets intercepted by Jartavius Martin. The Washington Commanders beat the Patriots 20-17. Washington improves to 4-5 on the season. The Patriots drop to 2-7. And they're tied, I believe, for the worst record in the AFC. I think they're tied for that. I believe so. There were some teams on bye weeks, so it was, or they might actually own it. I think they own the worst record in the AFC now. The New Orleans Saints beating the Chicago Bears 24-17. Taysom Hill had a touchdown catch and a touchdown pass. Paulson Adebo, DB for the Saints, had multiple takeaways. Tyson Bagent, give the guy credit. 220 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did throw 3 interceptions, though. The Saints improved to 5-4 with the win. They take the lead in the NFC South. And the Chicago Bears dropped to 2-7. A blowout in what was supposed to be an excellent game, an absolute blowout in Baltimore as the Ravens trounced the Seattle Seahawks 37-3, despite the fact that Lamar Jackson did not throw a single touchdown pass. Keaton Mitchell, the rookie running back for the Ravens, ran for 138 yards and a touchdown. The Ravens offense was running the ball incredibly well. Baltimore improves to 7-2 with the win. They are tied with Kansas City for the best record in the AFC. And the Seahawks drop to 5-3. In the final 1 o'clock game, oh man, was this a good one. The Houston Texans in a shootout take down the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 39-37. Texans quarterback C.J. Stroud sets NFL rookie records. 470 yards and 5 touchdowns. That is the most passing yards and the most passing touchdowns by a rookie quarterback in a game in NFL history. I don't think there's any doubt the best rookie quarterback performance of all time. CJ Stroud looks legit. This guy is good. And the Texans improved to 4-4. They're 3-1 at home. I asked Mitch and Parker on Monday on the 5th quarter, do we think the Texans could be a playoff team? They're certainly flirting with that line right now. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers dropped to 3-5 with the loss. In the late game window, the Indianapolis Colts head to Carolina, and with 2 pick sixes from defensive back Kenny Moore, Bryce Young threw 3 interceptions. The Indianapolis Colts beat the Carolina Panthers 27-13 and deny Frank Reich a potential revenge. The Colts improved to 4-5 with the win. Panthers drop to 1-7. And at what point does Carolina think, oh boy, maybe we picked the wrong guy? I mean, they traded DJ Moore. They traded a pick that could end up being Caleb Williams. And Bryce Young so far looks kind of rough. I mean, the rest of the team around him is also not good. But not only that, but the fact that C.J. Stroud is playing as well as he is, and Anthony Richardson was playing as well as he was before he got hurt. The other late games, the Raiders in Antonio Pierce's first game as Raiders head coach. The Raiders blow out the quarterbackless Giants 30-6 as Daniel Jones is out for the season with a torn ACL. The Giants are now down to third string Tommy DeVito at quarterback, not to be confused with Danny DeVito. And the Raiders coaching thing, Raiders improved to 4-5 at the win. Giants dropped to 2-7. But the Raiders coaching thing, if anybody had missed it. So what had happened with Josh McDaniels, supposedly, this was reported by Jay Glazer on Fox. So apparently they had a meeting sometime last week where the players were allowed to sort of air their grievances. And they just let it loose. They just let it rip. They were just tearing apart McDaniels, anything and everything. The players were just letting their grievances fly. And Antonio Pierce, who was an assistant coach for the Raiders, Antonio Pierce stood up. And when he played in the NFL, Antonio Pierce played for the Giants in the 2000s. He was a member of their Super Bowl 42 championship team when they beat the undefeated Patriots. And Antonio Pierce said, listen, how we did that with the Giants in 2007, he said, how we did that was we believed we had a game plan for every game. We truly believed that we could win every game. We didn't go into any games thinking we were going to lose. We went into every game believing that we could win if we played well enough. We believed in ourselves. We believed in each other. And we were able to take down a juggernaut in the Patriots for doing that. Really rallied the players in that sense. Josh McDaniels was the offensive coordinator of that Patriots team. And apparently after this meeting, Josh McDaniels pulled Antonio Pierce aside and basically said, don't you ever talk badly about the Patriots ever again. Now, your career, your butt is on the line, and you choose to defend the Patriots, the organization that you left twice. Your career is on the line, potentially as a head coach in this league, and you choose to defend them. That's the hill you choose to die on. That's a bold decision by Josh McDaniels, and it didn't work out. Kind of the same way neither of Josh McDaniels' head coaching tenures have worked out. But McDaniels is fired. The Raiders win it. The other late game, the Philadelphia Eagles beat the Dallas Cowboys 28-23. Eagles improved to 8-1 with the win. Cowboys drop to 5-3. The Sunday night game, we'll get to it later. The Bengals beat the Bills 24-18. And on Monday night, the Chargers beat the Jets 27-6. So we'll be back in just a couple of minutes to recap the Bills versus Bengals game that did not go so well for the Bills. We'll be back on Big Blue Sports Podcast. Thanks for tuning in here this morning.
I get lost, running circles in my mind. That's the cost of living the dream as you and I. And all our friends are growing up, some are going gray. But look at us, we have an easy day. Nothing else that I could ever need. And all our friends are busy waiting for that rainy day. I got hope. You will always be there at the end of my road. As long as I got you to take this journey on with me. There's nothing else that I could hope. I got hope. That you will always be there at the end of my road. As long as I got you to take this journey on with me. There's nothing else that I could ever need. There's nothing else that I could ever need.
On the air at 88.9 WCVF. We are the campus and community voice of Fredonia.
And welcome back to Big Blue Sports Podcast. So the Bills. Yeah, the Bills traveled to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals on Sunday night. And once again, because apparently we didn't get enough of the Bills' offense not performing up to expectations between an opening drive touchdown and the final drive of the game. Between those two drives that both resulted in touchdowns. 3 points. That's it. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought the Bills' offense was supposed to be one of the best in the league. We are seeing pathetic performances from the offense. I mean, and I don't think that it's unfair to say that either. I really don't think it's unfair to say that the Bills' offense has not been good enough, not even close, in the last several weeks. When Josh Allen isn't playing perfect football and isn't bailing the rest of his team out, it doesn't end well. I mean, it's sad. It's sad because this is a team that is supposed to have championship aspirations. The team that I saw on Sunday night, that is nowhere close to a championship team. I'm sorry, but it's true. Like, I call it how I see it. It's just true. Now, do I think that they can fix things and they can get to where they want to be? Yes, I think that's still possible. I think the Bills are still good enough to get to where they want to be. But things have got to change. I mean, right now, and I don't know. The question is it play calling? Is it execution by the offense? What is it? Is it, Sean McDermott holding them back too much? I think it's possible for all of those things to be true. And I think all of them are true. I think that Ken Dorsey's play calling at times is not good. I think the offensive execution, I think there are times where the play calling is fine and the execution is just not good. And then I think that there are times where they could unleash Josh Allen, and maybe Ken Dorsey even wants to a little bit, but McDermott is saying, no, we've got to be conservative. See, that's the issue. That's the issue that people are starting to have, is that McDermott, listen, Sean McDermott, I think, is an amazing coach. And the people who are saying we need to fire McDermott, my personal opinion, I don't think that's going to fix what's going on with the Bills right now. I don't think that you need to fire McDermott. I think that would do more harm than good. I believe that it's possible McDermott is taking too much on, trying to be both the head coach and the defensive coordinator. But McDermott does call a heck of a defense. The Bills' defense, despite the Bills' defense is missing like half of its starters, and they held Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals to 24 points. In my opinion, Buffalo's defense played well enough to win that game on Sunday night. And I think a few of their losses, the defense has played well enough to win. Listen, the defense, they've had some rough starts defensively. They absolutely have. They gave up 2 touchdowns in the first quarter on Sunday night. They held the Bengals to just 10 points the rest of the game. It was 21-7 Cincinnati at halftime. The Bills defense held the Bengals to just 3 points in the second half. That's a job well done. And I know the Bengals had some self-inflicted wounds with some penalties in that, but the Bills right now, offensively, things have got to improve. I mean, Gabe Davis and Deontay Hardy didn't have a single catch on Sunday night. Dalton Kincaid is playing very well. The fumble was very costly. But I'm not jumping on the let's criticize Dalton Kincaid bandwagon. Because other than the fumble, Kincaid was excellent. He was great. I truly believe that he is this team's second best pass catcher behind Stephon Diggs. I really believe that to be true. Kincaid the last few weeks has been really good. And, James Cook, Cook didn't really do much. Offensive line also did not have a good game, which was disappointing to see because the Bills' offensive line, I actually think, has played relatively well for most of this season. I think the offensive line, I think, has done an okay job this season. You know, Spencer Brown had a bad game on Sunday night. Spencer Brown had been really solid before that. My hope is that the O-line is going to bounce back, but that remains to be seen. The Bills are at home against the Denver Broncos next Monday night. They've got 2 winnable games coming up. They play the Broncos next Monday night, and then they're at home against the Jets the week after. In my mind, you've got to win both. They're both very winnable games. Buffalo will be decently favored in both of them. You got to come away with wins in both games. I'm going to be at the Broncos Monday night game, but you got to come away with wins in both. I mean, if you do, then you're sitting at 7-4 on Thanksgiving. You're like, okay, you know, we can work with this. Right now, it doesn't look great, but 7-4 at Thanksgiving, I can take that. You can work with that. You know, you lose 1 or 2 of those games. Maybe you're sitting at 6-5, 5-6. Like, I don't know. So I think the next 2 games, the Bills really got to take care of business because they can. They are winnable games. Buffalo's got to come through and get the job done because then they got the bye week after that. So my picks for this week, tomorrow night's game, the Chicago Bears and Carolina Panthers. Why do we have to keep watching the Bears on primetime? Come on. They're terrible. Anyways, I think they're going to win that game, though, because Carolina's worse. The overseas game, the Colts versus the Patriots. I'm picking the Colts to win that one. I'm going a little bit of a speed round because we only got a few minutes left. The Sunday 1 o'clock games, the Houston Texans, Cincinnati Bengals. That could actually be a fascinating game. The Texans and Bengals. You know, so I'm going to pick the Bengals to win, but don't be shocked if the Texans pull off the upset. I think C.J. Stroud might take this team to the playoffs this year. Don't be shocked if the Texans pull off the upset in Cincinnati. The Saints and Vikings, both teams 5-4. That's going to be a good game. I think the Vikings do win it. You know, Josh Dobbs, once he gets acclaimed, Josh Dobbs has been really good this year. The Green Bay Packers and Pittsburgh Steelers. 89% of voters are going with the Steelers. I'm going to go the other way. I think the Packers go into Pittsburgh and get the win because I like being bold, I guess. The Tennessee Titans and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm going to go with Tampa to win that one. The 49ers in Jacksonville against the Jags. I think the 49ers get back on track and win that one. They're a good team. They'll figure it out. The Browns in Baltimore to take on the Ravens. I think Baltimore wins that. 2 4:05 games. The Atlanta Falcons heading to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. The Cardinals are an absolute tire fire right now. I'm picking Atlanta. The Detroit Lions heading into LA to take on the Chargers. The Lions are excellent. I think the Lions are going to the playoffs this year for sure. They're 6-2. I'll pick them to go to 7-2. 4:25, the Giants heading to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. I would be stunned if the Giants won that game. I think Dallas wins it. Their 4:25 game, Washington heading into Seattle to take on the Commanders. Washington is the Commanders. To take on the Seahawks. Seahawks, I think, win that game. Sunday Night Football, the Jets heading to Vegas to take on the Raiders. Ooh, that's going to be actually a decent game. That'll be a toss-up. I'm going to go with the Raiders. I think the Raiders come away with a win in that one. And then Broncos, Bills on Monday night. I am going to pick the Bills. I think Buffalo gets back on track with a win on Monday night. So that'll do it for Big Blue Sports Podcast. Thanks for bearing with me as I was kind of struggling through the lost voice. Hopefully I'll have more of a voice for next week's show, and hopefully I'll be recapping a Bills win over the Denver Broncos. Sabres in action next on Friday night against the Minnesota Wild. I don't think I mentioned that, but that is Hockey Fights Cancer Night, so that'll be, a really fun night to definitely tune in for, or go to the game if you're free, or go see the Blue Devils take on Buff State on Friday night. Thanks for tuning in to Big Blue Sports Podcast here this morning. We will see you next week. Be well. Bye now.